As the wife of CEO, Emily didn't waste a second. She held a press conference immediately, positioning herself as a shield for Edward. All the blame landed on me, pinned with precision, and she vowed severe consequences. Edward, standing there with a look that tore at my chest, spoke as if my missteps were a personal betrayal. "Ryan," he said, his voice tight, "I've warned you countless times about misusing company funds and falsifying records. Why didn't you listen?" Around us, colleagues exchanged uneasy glances. They expected me to defend myself, to fight back. But I simply smiled, an almost serene acceptance on my face. I took full responsibility, voluntarily resigning. Even Emily leaned in, whispering promises that dripped with false comfort. "Once this blows over, I'll find a way to reinstate you," she said. "And I'll make our relationship public, your compensation in a sense." She didn't know that the chairman had been one step ahead from day one, ordering back-end monitoring on every computer. Every lie, every falsified record, they'd all be exposed in due time. When that day came, they wouldn't just face financial ruin. They'd face the law. Back at my desk, Edward's arrogance reached new heights. He rifled through the items I'd packed, scolding me in a voice dripping with entitlement. "Quitting won't fix this," he snapped. "The fraud you committed cost the company at least $8 million. I met his gaze evenly. "What more do you want?" "Cover the financial gap," he said, pushing further. "Hand over all your projects. Help us finish them." Every project in my hands was more than work. It was the lifeblood of the company, painstakingly built with countless hours of effort. This wasn't just about misused funds. Edward wanted to strip me of every ounce of value I had left. Emily, surprisingly silent for a moment, then sided with him. "Edward's right," she said. "If you're willing to make up for it, help complete the projects, maybe you can stay." I couldn't believe it. 6 months ago, when Edward first joined, Emily had taken an unusual interest in him. She'd ignored other candidates, personally choosing him, claiming he reminded her of me when I was younger. Even after our secret marriage of 7 years, she bent her principles for him. I laughed bitterly, turning to face them both. Edward's just an assistant. What qualifications does he have to take over projects? And I'm supposed to help him? Her shock was palpable. Edward's irritation flashed, but he masked it with an air of graciousness. "I only gave you a chance to make up for past mistakes because you're an old-timer. But personal attacks? Not acceptable." Then, with a pitiful gaze at Emily, he feigned humility. "Maybe I should just leave." Emily panicked, grabbing his arm. "Who said you're useless? As long as I'm here, no one can make you leave." Then she turned her disappointment on me. "Ryan, I'm disappointed. You think seniority gives you the right to bully newcomers?" I couldn't help but laugh quietly. Since Edward arrived, she had blindly entrusted him with key projects, which he'd already bungled, nearly destroying partnerships and alienating longtime suppliers. If I hadn't stepped in personally to apologize, we'd have lost everything. Seeing my silence, Emily softened. "All right, Edward's suggestion is kind. You can protect your reputation, stay in the company, and provide real benefits to employees. What's wrong with that?" Colleagues, previously silent, began whispering. One dared. "Ryan, you've always held the key projects. Now's your chance to share the wealth." Another added, "With your reputation ruined, no other company will touch you if you leave. Apologize. Beg Edward for forgiveness." I scanned the room. For years, I had poured my blood and sweat into this company, bringing in collaborations, transforming this branch into a powerhouse. And now, all of that hard work was twisted against me, accused of hoarding projects, while Edward smugly smiled, relishing the injustice. "If you apologize," he said finally, "I might forgive your earlier insult." Emily beamed, completely charmed. "Edward is so kind and generous," she said, oblivious of the truth simmering beneath the surface. Even without me, Emily's voice carried that familiar mix of impatience and authority. "Ryan," she said softly, "I believe in your abilities. You could easily take over those projects and keep things running." Her words were meant to persuade, but there was a tinge of frustration behind them. Stop being stubborn, she whispered, and just accept the opportunity. You'll see once this is over, I'll make it up to you. We'll go public with our relationship. I couldn't help but laugh. Bitter, hollow laughter. She had dangled that promise in front of me so many times that it had lost all meaning. What made it worse was knowing the truth. It was Edward who had embezzled the funds, forged the records, and yet somehow I had been the one framed. And now, they were pretending to be saviors, expecting my gratitude. Did they think I was a fool? I raised my hands, letting a mocking smile stretch across my face. Since Edward is so capable, let him take it all. I said, my voice calm but cutting. I'll be waiting for the good news of your success. Emily's face darkened instantly. Her tone sharpened. Ryan, you really are pushing it. If you want to leave, then go. But don't come crying to me when you can't find a job, begging to be let back in. I smiled. Don't worry. That day will never come. What she didn't know was that the real tears weren't going to be mine. They were going to be theirs. From day one, the board had instructed me to install back-end monitoring on every computer. Every lie, every manipulation, every act of deceit was recorded, waiting for the right moment. When the chairman finally reviewed the data, their carefully constructed web of lies would collapse. They wouldn't just owe compensation. They'd be facing prison. That night, I packed my belongings at home, calmly asking my lawyer to draft a divorce agreement. Once everything was ready, I moved into a hotel. Lying there, intending to scroll through my phone and think about my next career move, my peace was interrupted by a few vibrations. A message from Edward. In the video, he lounged on a sofa, snacks and fruit spread out on the table in front of him. Emily moved in the kitchen, cooking tirelessly, one dish after another. Smoke curled lazily from pans. And yet, her face blurred in my mind, fading into background. Edward's voice followed in a message, full of smug certainty. Ryan, so what if you married Emily? In her heart, I'm the most important. I just said I was hungry, and she insisted on making me a special late-night snack. She even bought all these fruits and snacks just to keep me entertained while watching my favorite show. You've been with her for years, but I'm sure you've never had this treatment, right? He was right. For 10 years, Emily couldn't even bear the smell of cooking oil. I had always gone to extreme lengths to protect her from discomfort. Windows open, exhaust fans maxed, forbidding her from stepping near the kitchen. And now it became painfully clear. It wasn't about discomfort. It was about love, or the absence of it. It didn't matter anymore. I downloaded all of Edward's messages, recorded every screen, every word, for evidence. Then I opened a recruitment app, barely updating my resume before receiving an unexpected message from Panda Group, the industry leader. They wanted to meet me the very next day. I thought about it. I'd only interacted with them a few times over the years, yet their power, prestige, and influence dwarfed even the parent company. I accepted. The next day, I arrived at a tea house, and to my surprise, the contract was already prepared. They even offered me a place to stay when they learned I had no fixed residence. Every clause seemed tailored, every arrangement carefully considered. Their sincerity was impossible to deny. After confirming the starting date, I politely declined a meal and prepared to leave, only to run straight into Emily and Edward. Their surprise was immediate. Emily's eyes, confused, searched mine. What are you doing here? Edward's reaction was more calculated. So, Ryan, he said, suspicion edging his tone, are you following us because you heard we had a client meeting today? I smiled, almost amused. Pure coincidence. But there was something I needed to say to Emily. I stepped closer. I need to talk to you. Her face softened, an almost imperceptible satisfaction flickering across her features, but she restrained herself, forcing a calm smile. So, you cooled down after spending the night alone. Finally realized you were wrong. Fine, apologize to Edward first. I cut her off, my voice icy but composed. Emily, let's get a divorce. Her head shot up, disbelief flashing in her eyes. Edward's face betrayed a brief moment of joy before quickly masking it with shock. Ryan, what are you saying? Angry about the press conference yesterday? You're just saying this out of spite, right? It was all for the company's reputation. I didn't flinch. You know very well it wasn't about the company, or for you. Edward's expression faltered. I knew you looked down on me because I'm just a junior assistant. And in that moment, the balance of power shifted. For once, I was no longer the one cornered. I've always been a bother to you. I'll leave, Edward mumbled, his voice small, weighed down by years of quiet insecurity. Emily immediately grabbed his arm, spinning toward me with that familiar mix of frustration and authority. Ryan, she said sharply, when did you become so petty? Edward is just a newcomer. If this gets out, his future will be ruined. But you have experience, capability. This is nothing for you. I've promised to make it up to you. What more do you want? I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. The irony was staggering. The same situation, the same mistake. Yet Edward's career hung by a thread, while mine was supposedly trivial. Just yesterday, they'd warned me that once I left, no company would touch me. Their words contradicted themselves, but their meaning was clear. I no longer mattered. I stopped arguing. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the divorce agreement. Calmly, I said, I've said it. I want a divorce. Words without action were meaningless. For the first time, Emily realized I wasn't joking. Her expression shifted from exasperation to disbelief. Ryan, are you serious? I nodded. And then, in a move I hadn't expected, Emily tore the paper in half. Her teeth clenched, her voice firm, unwavering. Don't even think about it. I won't divorce you. A smug look flickered across her face, as if she just remembered a key piece of ammunition. Ryan, is this because I didn't come home last night that you're angry? I looked at her, calm and silent. She tried to justify herself, her tone rehearsed. My phone ran out of battery. Edward had a stomach issue. He was alone, so I stayed to help. Edward chimed in, echoing her explanation, eyes burning with hatred. Yeah, Ryan? Emily was just being kind, taking care of me all night. Don't misunderstand. I scoffed. When I had been hospitalized after 3 nights of drinking for a project, Emily hadn't even visited. But now, for Edward's minor stomach trouble, she had devoted herself entirely. And the night alone, the two of them, no issue in her eyes. It wasn't about care or concern. It was about who she cared for. I knew her insistence on staying married wasn't love. It was habit control. 10 years of my devotion had made her accustomed to having me at her beck and call. She couldn't bear the thought of me breaking free. Before I could respond, the door swung open. The chairman of the parent company stepped in, followed by a client we were meeting. Emily froze, her composure faltering for a brief second before she regained it. Chairman, when did you arrive? She asked, flustered. You should have notified me so I could arrange a proper reception. Edward, sensing a chance, added, It's almost mealtime, Chairman. If you don't mind, we can take care of lunch for you. The chairman's gaze swept over them, sharp and calculating. Given the serious issue with the branch, I have no interest in eating right now. The words landed like a hammer. Emily broke into a cold sweat. Her carefully orchestrated plan to quietly push me out had backfired, and now the chairman himself was here. Edward's eyes narrowed, a thought forming. Chairman, you probably don't know, but it was Ryan who did all the financial fraud. Emily shot me a quick, apologetic glance, then jumped to back him up. Chairman, it's my fault. I didn't realize Ryan was misappropriating company funds and falsifying accounts, but I've already fired him. The chairman turned to me, eyes piercing. Ryan, is this true? Emily held her breath. I smiled calmly. Chairman, they're not wrong. I'm no longer an employee. Her shock was visible. She froze, unprepared for my decisiveness. But I wasn't finished. I pulled a USB from my pocket. But the one who misappropriated funds and falsified accounts isn't me. It's Edward, I said firmly. Edward's face went pale, his anger erupting. You're lying. I ignored him and handed the USB to the chairman's secretary. Moments later, the screen lit up with a clear record of Edward's crimes. Repeated transfers to private accounts, doctor financial records, every illicit action laid bare. Silence filled the room. Emily, who had worked so hard to protect him, had no words. The chairman scoffed. "Edward, do you have anything to say?" Edward broke down, sobbing, trying to fabricate loyalty and innocence. Emily jumped in, weaving lies of her own, insisting on Edward's competence. But it was too late. The client, silent until now, finally spoke, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Edward, this waste of space is considered talent?" "Emily, it's time you retired." The room went dead silent. For 10 years, I never imagined Emily could lie so blatantly. And for the first time, all their schemes, all their manipulation, had unraveled before my eyes. The sharpness of my words immediately clouded Emily's face. But with the chairman present, she forced a smile, trying to steady the storm she'd set in motion. "Edward has been with me for more than half a year," she said, her voice a little too practiced. "I know his abilities, his character. Mr. Lee, surely you've heard some strange rumors and misunderstood him." She cast a subtle glance at me. Everyone knew I had solid connections with major clients, and in Emily's mind, I was the only one who could tarnish Edward's reputation. But Mr. Lee didn't even glance at her. Instead, he turned to the chairman with a cold edge in his tone. "Chairman, since Ryan is no longer with your company, I'm afraid our cooperation will have to be canceled." Emily's composure cracked. "Mr. Lee, what do you mean by that? Even if Ryan is gone, Edward is still here. But she didn't realize that Edward had already insulted Mr. Lee's brother, a key supplier. Mr. Lee had known of Edward's incompetence and arrogance all along. A sneer curled on Mr. Lee's lips. "Edward, what's he even worth? Does he deserve to sit at the same table as me to discuss business? Emily, you're not just getting old. You clearly don't take us seriously." The label of arrogance pinned itself to Emily's face, and color drained from her cheeks. Edward's eyes flashed with anger, but he turned to Mr. Lee, desperate. "Mr. Lee, you and Ryan must be in cahoots." Feeling the chairman's gaze settle on him, Edward gained a false confidence. "Chairman, Ryan is still resentful over being fired yesterday. He fabricated the surveillance footage and bribed Mr. Lee. He wanted to ruin Emily and me completely, right in front of you. Otherwise, how could he coincidentally appear today with this video?" I had to admit, I admired the audacity. A scriptwriter's flair for drama had bled into the boardroom, low-level tricks, and yet he dared to use them in front of the chairman. Even more shocking, Emily believed him. Her eyes darted between me and Mr. Lee, suspicion and panic warring on her face. "Ryan, I thought you were just jealous, throwing a tantrum. I didn't expect this vile trickery." Everyone in the room froze, glancing at Emily with disbelief. Even the chairman could no longer remain silent. "Enough. The president of the company, acting like a shrew. What kind of behavior is this?" Emily flushed red, but continued to try defending herself. Calmly, the chairman interjected. "When we opened this branch, I had Ryan install surveillance on every computer. Are you seriously suggesting I fabricated this video?" Silence fell. No one had expected the truth to be so clear, so damning. The chairman snorted. "As for why Ryan is here today, it's because I asked him to come. He's here to confront you both face to face. Emily, you've truly disappointed me." Cold sweat trickled down her forehead. She glanced between the chairman and me, struggling to comprehend why I, an orphan with no family, had such a close relationship with him. Why had he entrusted me with this task? Edward, humiliated and furious, roared, "You two set me up." Mr. Lee scoffed, voice sharp. "If you hadn't done anything shady, no one could have set you up. Stop blaming others. Own your actions." Edward's mouth opened to curse again, but the secretary pulled out his phone, dialing quickly. And then, the piercing wail of police sirens. Edward's face drained of color. "You wait." His words were cut off as he bolted, running for his life. The chairman raised an eyebrow, expression unreadable. The secretary immediately dispatched someone to pursue him. Emily stood frozen, stunned. She had expected consequences, but not Edward abandoning her entirely. Mr. Lee, seizing the moment, laid out Edward's misdeeds over the past 6 months, including the incident with his own brother, each piece of evidence clear and damning. Finally, he sneered, turning to Emily. Do you still think your assistant is a talent? Color drained from her face, leaving her pale. Yet stubbornly, she whispered, No, that's impossible. Edward isn't like that. The chairman sighed deeply, turning to me. I shouldn't have listened to you back then, giving her the CEO position. His words hit like a thunderclap. Emily froze, eyes wide. Chairman, what do you mean? He said nothing, letting silence speak. Then the secretary spoke, quietly with precision. Ryan's mother once saved the chairman's life. He has always remembered that kindness. Later, by chance, you two applied here. The chairman initially wanted to promote Ryan to branch president, but he refused. Not only that, he gave all of Ryan's achievements to you, Emily, allowing you to become CEO. Emily's jaw dropped. She looked at me in disbelief. Why didn't you ever tell me? I shrugged lightly, the weight of the past finally lifting. It's all in the past. No need to bring it up. The secretary, sensing the perfect pause, remained silent, letting the truth settle like a storm's calm after the thunder. The chairman's gaze bore into Emily, each second sharpening his anger. A good company, ruined by you, he said, voice low but cutting. Not only did you allow employees to form factions and slander colleagues, but you dare to fire a benefactor. I think you should be the one dismissed. Without another word, he instructed the secretary to release a company-wide announcement, clearing my name and removing Emily from her CEO position. HR was ordered to fire both Emily and Edward, demanding substantial compensation and alerting legal authorities. Panic washed over Emily. She fell to her knees, begging for mercy, swearing she would never make the same mistake again. But the chairman's expression remained unmoved, unmelted. Desperate, she turned to me, eyes wide and pleading. Ryan, please, ask the chairman to spare me. If you help me keep this job, I'll go public with our relationship immediately. I'll never see Edward again. I pulled my hand back, calm and resolute. Emily, you seem to have forgotten. I only want a divorce. Nothing else. Nothing more. She recoiled, disbelief flashing across her face. Impossible. You loved me before. When I treated Edward well, you accepted it. Now, I promise I'll never see him again, and you still leave me? I couldn't help but let out a small, humorless laugh. The sheer audacity. She actually thought being kind to Edward entitled her to anything. Mr. Lee, losing patience, interjected gently. Miss Moo, Emily, it seems you've forgotten that Edward is about to face prison. Even if you wish to see him in the future, it won't be possible. Emily bit her lip, struggling to argue further. But the chairman had had enough. With a wave of his hand, he signaled security. In an instant, Emily was being dragged from the room. Her screams faded, echoing faintly as she disappeared. For the first time in years, I had silence. Before leaving, the chairman paused and offered me the CEO position. I shook my head. Sorry, Chairman. That company has already lost my trust. I can't go back. Besides, I've already accepted another offer. He understood. With my skills, finding a new opportunity was only a matter of time. Still, the chairman's anger at losing a talent like me, because of Emily and Edward, burned brighter. The branch was closed, its operations dissolved, and its frustration vented fully. In the following days, I focused on my new home, my new company, and a fresh start. To prevent any interference from Emily, I blocked her from all social media. Word of the branch's closure spread quickly. Employees were left in shock, unaware of the full story. Later, they learned that Emily and Edward were the culprits behind the fiasco. Calls, messages, and outrage bombarded them both. Emily, mentally unraveling, nearly got hit by a car while crossing a street. Eventually, the parent company pursued legal action. Though she avoided jail, she had to liquidate all assets to cover losses. Her reputation was ruined. Companies would no longer hire her. She was left with nothing but odd jobs to survive. Edward vanished without a trace, never caught. I felt neither relief nor regret. Our prenuptial agreement had protected me financially, and I hired a lawyer to finalize a divorce, severing ties completely. Yet, one day, arriving at my new office, I saw her standing outside. No longer the confident, ambitious woman I once knew. She looked bent and fragile, as though 10 years had been stripped from her life in a single night. The moment she saw me, tears welled up. "Ryan, please, just this once. I know your connection with the chairman. If you could ask him to lift my blacklist, I'll do anything." I shook my head. "Emily, we're adults. We face the consequences of our actions. I helped you rise, and you never appreciated it. I can't help you anymore." I turned to leave, but she followed, desperate, even threatening. "Ryan, if you don't help me today, I won't leave. I'll stay here until you agree." Then, without warning, she collapsed, crying out loudly, "Oh my God, what sin have I committed? To meet a heartless man who not only kicked me out of the company for another woman, but now refuses even to come home." Her tantrum drew a crowd, rush hour commuters and my new colleagues alike, all staring in disbelief. To prevent further chaos, I took hold of her arm and began guiding her out, dragging her carefully but firmly away from the chaos she had created. By the time we reached the cafe, Emily had regained her composure. She sipped her coffee casually, eyes fixed on me, her tone deceptively calm. "Ryan, you saw it yourself. As long as you get the chairman to lift my blacklist, I'll be good to you. Otherwise, I'll stay outside your office and let everyone know your dirty little secrets." Her words hit me with a hollow echo. She had chosen Edward over our years together, abandoned our home, and now, shamelessly, she was pointing fingers at me. Even after everything, I had never felt so distant from her. Emily's smirk sharpened, as though sensing my thoughts. "You probably look down on me for how I acted, don't you?" I remained silent. She didn't seem to need an answer. She continued, her voice trembling slightly under the weight of her misery. "Do you know what my life is like now? To pay back the compensation, I've sold off everything. I thought I could bounce back, but the chairman, he shut me out completely. He's banned anyone from helping me, from associating with me. I can't even get a basic job. Now, I'd take anything, even sweeping the streets, just to survive." Her words were steeped in misery, but I felt nothing. Perhaps it was true. I no longer loved her. Not even the smallest flicker of sympathy stirred. Still, I decided to help her this once, not for her, but to prevent her from sabotaging my future. The instant I hinted at cooperation, her eyes sparkled. "Ryan, I knew you'd come through. Don't worry. Once I find another job, I'll be good to you. We'll even have a grand wedding. Invite everyone." I frowned. Her words were absurd, increasingly so with each passing moment. "Emily, we're already separated," I reminded her. She waved me off. "Separation isn't divorce. 10 years together, we still have a chance to start over." I didn't engage further. I pulled out the divorce petition, along with all the messages and videos Edward had sent me. I placed them in front of her, voice flat. "Emily, this is your betrayal. The chairman and others can testify. Our relationship is beyond repair. The divorce is inevitable. Face reality." I stood to leave, but she grabbed my arm. "Ryan, there's nothing between me and Edward. I only got close to him because he reminded me of you. I couldn't help myself." I smirked. "So, if I saw a woman who looked like you from back then, would I be allowed to get involved?" Her answer was instantaneous, snapping back with conviction. "Of course not." I met her gaze, calm and steady. "You can't accept it, but you spent all this time trying to make me accept everything else. Emily, let's leave each other with dignity. This ends here." Her lips parted to argue, but before she could speak, her expression froze. In the next heartbeat, she shoved me hard, a flash of silver. A knife plunged deep into her abdomen. I whirled to see Edward, reeking of alcohol, eyes bloodshot with rage. "Ryan, it's all your fault. You did this to me. I'm going to kill you." He yanked the knife out and lunged again, but the nearby residents reacted quickly, restraining him. Others tended to Emily, calling police and ambulance. Edward was arrested. Emily was rushed to the hospital. I went to see her, knowing the danger she had endured. She lay pale, just rescued from death's edge, staring at the leaves outside. When she noticed me, a faint smile tugged at her lips. Sunlight lit her face, and for a brief moment, I saw the young, naive Emily who had once stepped into the world with hope. But that image faded quickly. She patted the bed beside her. "Sit down." I shook my head. "I've already covered your medical bills. The chairman has been informed. You'll recover, and life will continue." She didn't respond. She just stared at me. "Ryan, I lost my way. But after all this, I realized I've always loved you. Even if you don't help me with the chairman, I want to start over." I handed her the divorce papers, expression calm. "Emily, we can't go back. 10 years together. Let's not make it more painful by dragging it out in court." Tears slipped down her cheeks as she stared at the papers. After a long pause, she signed them, and in that moment, the last thread binding us snapped. The chapter of us was over, and finally I could begin a new life.